Okay, welcome to InDesign. I'm going to show you guys a few things that are going to help you out with your designs just to make them a little bit more interesting. I think last time we met, we talked about the basics in InDesign, how to get a picture in there, how images are linked. So these are a few things that are going to show you how to make your designs more interesting. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is something called master pages. This allows you to basically make everything or be able to put multiple things on pages and it show up on all the pages. Okay, so if you go to your pages panel, so you can, I just opened up an 8.5 by 11 document. You can open that up too if you want, or you can just kind of watch this video and try and soak it up. But basically, in your pages panel, no matter how many pages you make, what you'll notice is on your icon, your little thumbnail of your page, you have the letter A. And basically what that means is that you might notice up here, it says none, and it says A master. And this is a different section. These are your master pages. So basically each one of these pages has the A master applied to it. So if I double click on my A master, what it's going to do is it's going to take me to another spread. And I'm going to just choose the ellipse tool and I'm going to create an ellipse and fill it in with black. And I'm doing this on the left-hand page of my spread. And what you'll notice is on all these left-hand pages in my thumbnails of my actual document pages, you'll see that black circle. Okay, so now if I want that same black circle to be in the right side, I can just make a duplicate of it and put it over there and you'll see it on the right side too. Now what happens is once you put something into your master pages, you can go to your actual pages and those items are actually locked. Okay, so this is really great if you're creating something like guides or grids or some kind of rulers that you want to line stuff up with and you want it to be consistent over all of your pages. This is also great for things like page numbers that you can put down at the bottom, or maybe you want it to be in the same position for every page. Or maybe you just have a design element, like let's say I go back to my master pages and I want to have a bar that comes across, and I want that to be the same for every page. Putting in my master pages, I can go down to my document and it's going to be that in every page. Okay. Now so think of this like if you had a book and you had chapters, the first page of the chapter would be the same for every chapter, or maybe it has a slight change to it. But instead of having to reformat an entire page over and over again, you can just apply a master to it. But let's say you have a title page like this and you don't actually want the master page applied to it. This none up here, you can actually click it and drag it onto that page, and what it'll do is it'll take the master page off and that page will have no master page. The other thing you can do is you can create multiple master pages. So this is something you have to be careful about because, again, just like our layers in Photoshop, we have to be careful whether we're selected in our master pages or whether we're selected in our document pages. If you're selected in your master pages and you click the new symbol, you'll get a secondary master page, which is your B master. If I do it again, I'll get C master, and so on and so on. Now, I've had students who have accidentally designed their entire magazine in the master pages, which means that when you export it, you won't actually see it because all these document pages are master page A, and you're working with B and C. It's an easy fix. You can just copy and paste the content from those master pages into your document, but I don't want anybody to have that problem. So just make sure that you know whether you're creating pages in your master pages or whether you're creating pages in your document pages. So basically in my C master, instead of applying a circle, I could apply a square, fill that in with color, and you're not going to see it applied in any of these pages because these all have an A on them. However, if I drag my C master, then now I have a C and an A. Now you can't apply more than one master page per page, but you can have you can duplicate your master pages so that you can kind of add to it. So if I wanted to duplicate the C master, I could select my C master, and then I could go to where it says, I have to select both pages. I can go to where it says duplicate master, and then if I wanted to, I could add like a second square, just kind of adding onto it, and then I can drag that D master onto whatever page I want. Okay, so hopefully you can see how this is really helpful. Actually, one thing I'll show you before I finish up here, actually, let me get rid of these extra master pages. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my A master. I'm going to delete the stuff that I have on there right now. And I'm going to make sure that my A master is applied to all my pages. So I talked about kind of setting up guides or rulers to kind of line up your design next to. And I have a couple articles posted online that talks about how you can use a grid to help you lay out your design. But if you're going to do that, you can go to where it says layout, and it's best to do this on your master pages because then all those guides are locked and they're also on every page. So you go to layout and create guides, and this actually allows you to choose the number of rows and the number of columns that you have. And I can hit preview, and I can either align them to my margins, which means that everything that you keep inside the margin, or I can align them to the page, which means that maybe we're not as worried about the margins, which might be something that we would use for the web. And so this one I'm going to line up with the margins, and I'm going to just hit OK. And now on all of my pages, I have this grid that I can use, and I don't have to worry about moving it around because it will be locked. All right. So that's all there is for master pages. So a couple other things that I'm going to show you. The first one is called style sheets. So I'm just going to go to my first page here and kind of create a layout for you guys. So I'm just going to use a word. I'm going to type a word in here. And I'm going to change the font, which is my character panel. And just increase the size here. So I think we talked about the text frame options, but if we didn't, that's under object and text frame options. And this gives us like a lot of options that we might not normally be able to access. So one of those is vertical justification. So you'll notice that my text box, right now my text is aligned to the top left of my box. If I wanted to align my text in between the top and the bottom, that's a vertical justification. And right here where it says align, I can change that to center. I can hit preview so I can see what that's going to look like. And then I can hit OK. And that means no matter what size I make my box, the text will remain in the center. Now, if I wanted to do this horizontally, I would have to go to my paragraph panel and click on that. And that would get me my text right in the center of my text box. Now, why I would want to do this is because if I wanted to add, let's say, a stroke to my text box, I could do that, and my text would always remain in the center of my box. Okay. Now, some things that I want to talk about with our style sheets. Basically, again, this is another thing that can just save you time. So if you're trying to make things consistent, this will be really helpful. So style sheets are basically a way to apply all the settings that you have to a bunch of other things without having to redo all those settings. So if you go to where it says window and then you get on to styles, there are a bunch of different styles: cell styles, character styles, object, paragraph, and table styles. So we're going to primarily just focus on this character, object, and paragraph. If you find yourself working with tables, which would include cells, you can check out those other ones. So character styles is basically all of our settings that we would have for our text. So right now this font is impact, and it is, let's see, where's my character panel? 100 points. And I didn't really change any settings. Maybe I'll change my tracking a little bit. So with the style sheet, there's two ways that you can make, I got thrown off of my text message there. There's two ways that you can make a style sheet. The one is that you can kind of do it from scratch, and the other is that you can do it from something that already exists. So let's see. I lost my style sheets here. Character styles. Okay. So the first one, you'll see here, it says none. Basically what none means is that it is your default setting. So that's going to be Minion Pro 12-point font. And if I click new here, I'll get character style 1, and I can double click it. I might want to rename it, like maybe I'll say headings. And I can double click it to make all these changes. So basically all the information that I would have for my character panel is going to be in here. So I'm going to just make some changes here. I'll choose this font. I'll make it similarly large. And we'll also change the color to red. All right. So I'm going to hit OK. Now I made that character style. And basically, if I select a text box and I click on that, it's going to apply whatever settings I have in that style sheet. So the other way to kind of create a style sheet, that one's creating it from scratch. The other way is to format your text like I did here. And then while it's selected, click on new. And we can call this one headings 2. And if I go here, I can see, oh, this already has those settings that I put onto that text. So now if, let's say I create a new text box and I say, I can click on that headings 2, and all the same settings that I have for just the character panel will show up. So you'll notice that we don't have that horizontal and vertical centering. We only have the text available to us. So same thing here. I can kind of click through and do whatever. What's nice about this too is if I decide to change something in here, let's say I go to my character color and I say, actually, I want these all to be pink, and I hit OK, it's going to update all across the document. So this is another benefit of having a style sheet. Now, let's say I wanted to have the same settings as this as far as the centering and the line work. I would have to choose, I would make a paragraph panel from this. So I'm just going to click new paragraph style. Then I'm going to select my bananas and I'm going to apply that. So you can see that applies the centering. Now, in order to get the vertical centering and the stroke on there, I would actually have to go to Window, Styles, and Object Styles. And when I select that, you'll notice that you can make object styles for graphics and for text boxes. So I'm going to click on new, and now I'm going to select my bananas, and I'm going to choose that object style 1. And so that all those settings apply to there. Now let's say I decide, so this is a good time to bring in effects. So the style sheets allow you to kind of apply those styles over and over again. But then we also have, I'm going to just choose a color here. We also have something called effects. And effects are very powerful as far as like being able to manipulate our text boxes and our image boxes. Because basically when I have something selected over here, it says object stroke fill text. And so this is kind of similar to like the appearance panel in Illustrator, or adjustment layers in Photoshop. So basically I can select the whole object and adjust like things, which is like the transparency or something like that. I can also adjust the blending mode. Or I can go to just my fill and adjust the transparency of just my fill. So let's say I have this over top of an image, and the background, I want to be able to see the image through the fill, but not through my text or my outline. This gives me the control to do that, which is really beneficial. The other thing that we can do is, let's say I want a drop shadow on this text. I can go to my effects down here and I can choose drop shadow, and this will allow me to apply it just to my text. So maybe instead of black here, I'd like to have a red color. And maybe I also want to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so once I kind of mess around with those settings, I can put that drop shadow on there and hit OK. Now, I haven't updated this in my object styles. So if I were to go to my object styles and click new now, then I can click on this and apply those same settings. Now the thing is like I could have just updated this. I could have gone in here and clicked on drop shadow, put those same settings in here. So that's red. Maybe we'll make it blue this time. And we'll hit normal. Fill, we had yellow. And so I can hit OK here, and what you're going to see, oops, I put the drop shadow on the whole box, which kind of looks cool. So that drop shadow for the object. So I don't want it on the object. I want it on the text. There you go. Okay. So you can see how all these things can kind of be used together. I'm going to just really quickly download a image from Unsplash. And I'm going to show you kind of how those effects can be used, as well as a something called a gradient feather. So I'm going to download this image. And I'm going to place that in there. Sorry, this is taking so long. Should have downloaded this earlier. Jeez. There we go. Okay. So, bringing this image in. My computer's getting angry. All right, and I'm going to put it down here on this page. So basically, like, some things that we can do in InDesign too is, one of them is, let's say you have trouble with like a color theme, or kind of like choosing colors. they've got this cool tool called the color theme tool. Basically, if I select that and click on an image, it'll give me colors that are associated with that image, like pulled straight from that image. And I can select those and I can click on this, and what that'll do is it will add it to my swatches panel in a folder right here. So I'm going to take some colors from that particular image. I'm going to create a box that is going to go, maybe I'll just put it all the way across here. And I'm going to fill it with one of those colors, and I'm going to send it to the back. Now, if I wanted this image to fade into that color, they also have this really great tool called the gradient feather tool. And basically, I just click and drag a line. Oops, I have to have the right thing selected, so I want the picture selected. But I click and drag a line, and what that'll do is it will fade my image into whatever my background is. So let's say I wanted to have text laid out here. This, I can go to type, fill with placeholder text. Because now I've lightened the image and kind of pulled it into this background color, I can put type over top of it, and you can still see it. Whereas if I didn't have that gradient on there, I might not be able to see that text. Another thing is, like, you can do this with anything. So let's say I bring this in here and I take my gradient feather. I can also do it here where I like, whoops. That is not what I want to do. Let's see if we can do it just the type. So let me do another example. So I'm going to take my style sheets, put that first heading on there. Oops, no, I want the second one. But I'm going to change the color to white. And now I'm going to apply that gradient feather. I think I had the wrong tool selected also. Basically, that allows me to. So you can use it on anything. Let me try again with this. I think I had the gradient tool selected instead of the, yeah, I did. Instead of the feather gradient, I had the regular gradient tool selected. So basically that allows you to allow it to go from dark to light. Then you have the regular gradient tool, which means that you can apply gradients to anything as well. Okay, so that's basically all I'm going to cover right now in InDesign, but I do want to talk about a little bit about typographic hierarchy. Basically, typographic hierarchy is how we arrange type on a page, and there's different levels of typographic hierarchy. So if I was writing an article here and it was about the ocean, I would probably want my text to, my title to kind of be above whatever my other text is. Maybe that means that it's like really large, spans 2 pages, maybe even larger, who knows. But there's all sorts of different like typographic hierarchy options. Whoops, I sent it behind this too. And we could even, whoops, maybe take this and adjust the blending mode. Nope. Okay, So basically, what I'm trying to say is that typographic hierarchy is different ways that we can kind of display type to make it more prominent. Things like color, size, positioning, using white space, italicizing, underlining, making it larger, which I already said. But basically, when I ask for multiple levels of typographic hierarchy, this would be a title, this would be what you call your body copy, and then you might have something that is kind of like in between, like a pull quote or a subtitle or something like that. And so basically, that's how that works. And there's an article that I'm going to have you guys read that's going to kind of cover that as well, so that you can go into a little bit more depth. But when you hear that, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So hopefully you were able to follow along with this video, and I will see you in class.